Thank you. So hello everyone, and thank you for joining us this afternoon for this seminar. So I am Dr. Lauren Dempster. I'm a senior lecturer at the School of Law in Queen's University, Belfast, and I'm delighted to be joined today by a number of you here in person and a number of participants online. And apologies in advance for my terrible Spanish, but I also want to say bienvenidos a todos los que están conectando de Colombia. You're very welcome, and I'm really happy that you're joining us today. So our speaker today is Professor Hugo Escobar Fernández de Castro. Hugo is a professor at the Universidad Javeriana, who are a co-sponsor of this event, and he teaches constitutional law there. He's also a deputy judge at Colombia's national disciplinary jurisdiction, and previously for 7 years worked as a deputy judge at the JEP, the Special Jurisdiction for Peace in Colombia. So it's a real privilege to have Hugo bring his knowledge and experience to share with us today, and he's going to speak about his work on restorative justice and the JEP. So Hugo is going to speak for about 25 or 30 minutes, and then after that we'll have some time for discussion and questions. So Hugo, I'll hand over to you. Thank you.
Good afternoon in Belfast, in Ireland, and thank you very much for the opportunity and for everybody for joining this seminar. First of all, I want to apologize for my basic English, long time without speaking. Just to help me with the presentation, I have put together some written words, which I would like to address. First of all, I would like to thank the warm welcome extended to me by Queen's University Belfast. I would especially like to thank Dr. Lauren Dempster for her kind invitation and for her inspiring contributions to the field of transitional justice and enforced disappearance. I'm particularly intrigued by her recent work in progress with Beatrice Canosi, which explores the role of forensic scientists in transitional justice, focusing on the recovery of the disappeared. This approach appears to resonate strongly with my work at the Special Jurisdiction for Peace, known as JEP, particularly in case number 3, Dabeiba Cemetery, which I will speak about today, and with several of the core restorative practices I'm studying in the paper, which I would like to highlight in this presentation. I also would like to sincere thanks to Juan Carlos Botero, Dean of Pontificia Universidad Javeriana in Bogota, for his support. I'm very grateful to both institutions for fostering this valuable academic bridge between our universities. For Colombia, the peace process in Northern Ireland was always been an example. It showed us that voices of victims must be heard, that peace can be patient, and that to make things better, you need to be creative and brave. These lessons had a big effect on Colombia's own peace process. I want to start with the Colombia's conflict. For more than 60 years, Colombia has been a theater of conflict. Many actors have been involved in the internal confrontation, including guerrilla groups, the state, and paramilitary organizations. This on the background of complex phenomena which fuels the conflict, such as drug trafficking and illegal mining. The conflict in Colombia did not end with the 2016 Havana peace agreement with the FARC guerrilla, because we have at the moment 8 active non-international armed conflicts in Colombia recognized by the Red Cross Committee. According to the final report by the Colombian Truth Commission, during this conflict, we have more than 450,000 people lost their lives in connection with the armed conflict in the period of 1985 and 2018. We have also other violations, including enforced displacement, more than 7 million victims. We have kidnappings, more than 50,000 between 19 and 2018. We have forced recruitment of minors, about 60,000 cases. We have also forced disappearances, 120,000 between 1985 and 2016. And we have also the so-called false positives, which are civilians killed and falsely presented as dead in combat by the military. In this case, the JEP has until now provisionally determined 6,102 victims, a number that has become a symbol within the overall country. The conflict has impacted disproportionately different sectors of the population, such as indigenous people, Afro-descendants, peasants, women, children, elder people, members of the LGBTQ+ community. The 2016 peace agreement, which we will speak about today, is the result of a negotiated peace between the Colombian state, the government of Juan Manuel Santos, and FARC guerrilla. And after this agreement, or within this agreement, in point number 5 of the peace agreement, was established a transitional justice system called the comprehensive system for truth, justice, reparation, and non-repetition, today known as the integrated system for peace. In the system, there are 3 constitutional institutions: the Truth Commission, the Unit for the Search of People Presumed Disappeared, and the JEP, where I work for more than 7 years as a deputy judge investigating false positives, which I expect you to understand after this presentation. The system, and particularly the JEP as a court, is novel because it combines retributive and restorative justice. It forces perpetrators to contribute to the truth, face victims, admitting responsibility, and co-designing reparative actions. And the JEP is composed of 38 judges who are distributed in different chambers and investigate war crimes and crimes against humanity, and prosecute those most responsible for the armed conflict in the frame of 11 macro cases. In this presentation, I will use some examples to discuss macro case number 3, which focuses on false positives, which are killings and enforced disappearance falsely presented as combat casualties by state agents. So in this presentation is based on a paper I'm writing focusing on some of the JEP's restorative practices based on my experience at the JEP as a deputy judge. I'm currently working on updating the paper to include the first 2 JEP's restorative judgments, sentences, which were declared recently in September of this year. In this paper, I want to clarify, I selected the following 4 restorative practices because first, they engage directly with victims and align with my professional experience. Second, they transform sites of pain and horror into spaces dedicated to the memory of the conflict. Third, they compel those most responsible to confront society and victims. And fourth, they translate criminal responsibility into meaningful restorative actions. The 4 practices are: first, the dignified returns of the disappeared. Second one, protective measures. Third one, hearings in the acknowledged chamber. And the fourth one, last one, the restorative sanctions. Together, they show that Colombian transitional justice model can be both accountable and restorative. So let's start with the explanation of the four practices. The first one, as I was saying, the dignified return of remains. These are ceremonies that aim to respectfully return the remains of those who have disappeared to their families, following their wishes. The return of the remains and the truth about what happened, given by the person who was responsible, puts an end to years of uncertainty and brings dignity back to the victims. To show you this practice, I have a short story to tell you. When I was investigating the case number 3, false positives, and was this one in Dabeiba, which is a small town located near Medellin, between huge mountain, Paramillo Mountain, and a canyon near the Pacific Ocean. We were investigating all what happened around, and we found that they were operating all the main actors of the conflict, 2 FARC fronts, several battalions, military battalions, and also a paramilitary group in the same town. And after we got the information from the military, the JEP, at the acknowledged chamber, we intervened 29 mass graves to check out if the information of the missing persons given by the perpetrators was correct. We also gather information from local people and declarations, etc. And in grave number 6, we found the remains of Lescano, Edison Lescano, which was a young man missing for 18 years. And next to his body, we found an army battalion insignia, and was the 26 Arhuacos battalion insignia, which we found next to the body, and coincided with the investigations we were doing. The victim, reported by the military, was presented as a FARC member. In operational military documents, you could see his name, and it also revealed us command responsibility and criminal patterns. Crimes not by accident, repetitions committed by high commanders, and this confirmed the military was involved. His family had searched for nearly 2 decades, and now, because of JEP investigation, the Edison family, had the truth. Almost the whole battalion admitted responsibility of this crime, which also was indicted by JEP as a crime against humanity and a war crime. And all the militaries who acknowledged responsibility admitted in a public hearing in Dabeiba and in Medellin, in 2 public hearings, actually. The family not only got back Edison remains, but also knew how he was killed, and finally buried in a Catholic public ceremony, which took place in Dabeiba main square. The military recognition of true in this case was verified by JEP forensic scientists. And the return of his body, as I was saying, took place not in a courtroom, in a formal courtroom. Instead of that, was in Dabeiba main square, as the family requires, with a Catholic ceremony and with the whole community present, going after the main square to the cemetery. And I remember Rubiela, the mother of Edison, essentially saying that for years she asked for if anyone remember Edison as a peasant, and not as a guerrilla member that was presented by the military. And now the JEP, she was saying, now the JEP itself brings him back with dignity to me. So the finding of truth in this cemetery was never investigated by ordinary justice system before. And currently in the JEP tribunal is the process to impose the restorative sanctions. This emblematic case also demonstrated what I think was a Havana peace agreement. Why? Because in the heart of the Havana agreement, the promise was truth, acknowledge of responsibility, and restorative justice. The second practice, restorative practice I am analyzing are the precautionary measures or the protective measures. There are court orders used to prevent irreparable harm and to protect the people and the conditions needed for justice, truth, reparation, and non-repetition. Under Article 22 of procedure, any JEP chamber or section may issue them in any stage of the process when there is urgency and gravity. Their goals include protecting individuals and communities, preserving information at risk, like archives, ensuring that JEP decisions can be effective, and assist victims in their rights. In practice, the JEP uses these measures both inside the specific cases and independently following inter-American human rights standards. Victims can ask for them, and judges can also act ex officio when the rights are at risk. The focus is pro-victim, safeguarding life, integrity, liberty, and security, so victims can participate meaningfully in the JEP. Often these measures have a restorative approach, such as protecting burial sites of the disappeared through public hearings and community participation to preserve places and to promote rights to truth, memory, and guarantees of non-repetition. The example I have to demonstrate this practice is La Escombrera. In October of 2002, under Uribe's government, was carried out in Medellin, Comuna 13, Comuna 13, Operation Orion. This was a large-scale joint military offensive with paramilitary forces to regain state control in an area disputed with the guerrilla. While it aimed to restore order, it also led to serious human rights violations, including detentions, extrajudicial killings, and enforced disappearance of dozens of people. Over the time, survivors, families, and mothers identified La Escombrera, a debris dump in the area, as a mass grave burial site where paramilitaries hid many of the disappeared. There is a documentary of Jesus Abad, which you can see how was the operation, because you can see the photos of the paramilitary mixed with the military during the operation. In response, the JEP issued a precautionary measure to immediately halt any activity that could destroy evidence and bring together local authorities, forensic teams, and victims' organizations on the site. This judicial order protected the area from disturbance, created legal obligations for state institutions, ensured that the search for the disappeared could proceed under judicial supervision and with the participation of victims and their family. Up to date, we have several excavations at La Escombrera, exhumations, that have uncovered human remains of 6 missing persons with evidence once fear lost, transforming this site into a powerful, iconic space of truth and memory. For families who waited nearly 2 decades, these discoveries were not just forensic results. They mark the beginning of a long-awaited acknowledgement of the crimes committed by the state and a step towards justice and healing in a place once used to conceal them. there is like the movement called Las cuchas tenían razón, the mother's claims were right, about elder mothers that for several years firmly said that their sons disappeared at La Escombrera, and nobody believes them until JEP intervention in the place in Medellin. La Escombrera case shows that protective measures can turn sites of disappearance into places of memory, dignity, and investigation, bringing some justice to victims and recovering their remains to tell the real stories. The third practice I would like to talk about are the hearings. The public hearings are structured sessions where victims and perpetrators meet face to face. Victims receive psychosocial preparation in advance of these hearings. They are not passive subjects. They can ask questions to perpetrators. They can confront them, and they can demand for the truth. The goal of the hearing is acknowledgement of responsibility in a process of novel dialogical justice. In terms of the Argentinian professor Roberto Gargarella, this new Latin American constitutional movement about dialogical justice. And the story behind this practice is also held at Dabeiba's case, Dabeiba Cemetery, where enforced disappearance occurred by the battalion I was telling you. We found the insignia. In the hearings, almost all the military battalion personnel recognized the responsibility for Edison Lescano death, and they explained completely the crime, what happened, who killed him, etc. One of them of the mother of Lescano also asked, "Why did you order the killing of my son?" And the sergeant, who was like in charge of the operation, blamed the results demanded by General Mario Montoya, which was the commander of the army under Uribe's presidency. So acknowledgement hearings are painful but essential for the victims, and another really good restorative practices. And the last one I would like to present are the restorative sanctions. Here we have the TOARs. TOARs are works and actions with restorative content, and they are key part of the JEP sanctioning system instead of the jail. They are an alternative sanctions where perpetrators must comply and co-design restorative projects with victims and communities. These sanctions are supervised and verified by the JEP and also by the United Nations verification mission.
Oh, sorry, Hugo, one moment. You're muted. I think I was muting another participant and I think it muted you just for about 10 seconds. Do you see the little microphone? I can do it on this side. It's okay. 1 second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, you got it. Perfect. I'm sorry about that.
So, okay. So I was telling you about the last restorative practice I want to present, which are the sanctions, the restorative sanctions, including in the sentence, in the judgment, in the recent judgments of the JEP. These restorative sanctions are TOARs, and TOARs are from the Spanish acronym Works and Actions with Restorative Content. They are a key part of the JEP sanctioning system instead of the jail, and they are like an alternative sanctions where perpetrators must comply and co-design restorative projects with the victims and with the community, for the community. These TOARs are supervised and verified by the JEP, also by the United Nations verification mission in Colombia. And some examples we can find in the judgments include demining, environmental restoration, memorial reparation. And here we have like the two main sentences that the JEP has at the moment, case number 1 and case number 3. In case number 1, FARC kidnappings, we have a restorative sanction to the former FARC commanders, and they were sentenced to help the search for the disappeared, to join the demining, to build memorials, and to do environmental reforestation and restoration. In case number 3, we have the sentence to build ethnic centers with water systems, with health posts. They have to support the cultural initiatives of the communities and create memorial practices with the indigenous people from the Sierra Nevada and the Afro-Colombian communities. So just to conclude, I will talk about achievements and challenges. I think the achievements we have are 4, and they are kind of advances in the transitional justice process. First, we have victims that are co-authors and participants in the restorative practices, in the 4 of the restorative practices. They are not bystanders. Second one, we have a model which represents a novelty for restorative justice. Victims are placed at the center, and the JEP actions has a hands-on approach, visiting the places where possible victims of enforced disappearance are located. And the third one, the victims recover their remains and the possibility to bury them with dignity according to their wishes and religion. And religion is an advance, because before in Colombia, the practice was quite different, was quite rude, giving back the remains or the body. This shows that JEP justice can be symbolic, restorative, and at the same time material. The challenges, I think, are ahead, remain in 4 points. The first one is like a perception of the society, kind of inequality. Some people in Colombia see softer treatment for ex-FARC guerrillas than for state agents. Also in the judgment, in the restorative judgments, press and some victims and society are saying that the restrictions of liberty were just for the military, and the FARC, they have political participation, which was authorized also for the most responsible. The second one, all these practices need a lot of capacity of funding. So I think that's another challenge ahead. Logistics, coordination, local authorities. So coordination and capacity are, I think, is a big challenge. The third one's expectations, victims' expectations. Sometimes a family wants full truth or the body, and we can find the body, or always they want money reparation, and they get frustrated. And the last challenge, I think, the political will. The JEP needs the state, needs the fundings, and normally is in the middle of the electoral cycles And in the middle of the polarization, we have between right and left. And just to conclude, I think I'm about to finish. I think these challenges also show the tension between the two models. In the one hand, we have the adversarial traditional model, which focuses on punishment, jail, years of prison. It delivers retribution, but rarely repairs the harm. And in the other hand, we have the restorative model like JEP, which keeps accountability and also adds reparation, restoration. Victims are in the center, are heard, can participate in all the process, and perpetrators contribute with truth and acknowledge of responsibility. Our four practices make this shift visible: dignified, restore humanity, protective or precautionary measures, safeguard truth, and public hearings amplify victim voices. The TOARs, the restorative sanctions, turn responsibility into works of reparation. So in transitions from war to peace, I think punishment alone cannot heal. Reparation without accountability is not enough either. So the JEP seeks to combine both. In Colombia, we sustain this path. It might become a global reference, showing that justice after mass violence must be more important than punishment, and it must encompass reparation, acknowledgement, and rebuild the trust. And the final message is, for closing, is simple. Justice after war cannot be only about prison sentences. It also be about truth, restorative sanctions, acknowledgement of responsibility, facing victims, facing society, reconstructing, and fulfilling their rights. That is what we are trying to build step by step through dignified returns of remains, protective measures, hearings, and restorative sanctions. Thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you so much, Hugo. That was really interesting. I'm just stopping sharing the screen and then we'll have some time for questions. So we have 20 or 25 minutes now for questions, so that's excellent. Are there any questions from our participants online or indeed in the room?
Lauren, can I ask a question?
Yes, you can. Go ahead.
Hello, Hugo. Thank you very much for your talk. That was fascinating and very informative. What I would like to ask is about the hearings, and especially the two that have sentences that have taken place over the last month or so. And you talked a lot about acknowledgement and truth telling, but is there also a requirement from perpetrators to provide any sort of apology alongside acknowledging? And is it more than just providing facts and admitting that they did these crimes? Do they also have to provide some level of remorse in the form of an apology?
Did you hear that okay, Hugo?
I was trying to understand, but the final question, yeah, you're talking about hearings and what the perpetrators have to do, but I didn't get the question.
Yeah, so the last part of the question was about, alongside the telling of kind of truth and the provision of facts, is there a requirement to show remorse or apologize in some way?
I think this is like a kind of a natural process, and you can oblige the perpetrator to feel embarrassed or to feel pardon to the victim. Normally, it comes naturally. Of course, we have to prepare the session before with psychosocial personnel, and we do like different sessions. It's not only one declaration of the perpetrator. because it finished in a public hearing. We start in a small room, just like the judges, the victim, and the perpetrator, and we as we go on in the process, we finish in a public hearing, where we expect him to be genuine, to be sincere, and not to fake or to oblige him to say something. We try to do it natural, and to see the harm he did, to see the consequences of his acts. And normally in the Dabeiba case was like a process until they wanted to say pardon, to apologize, not only to the victims, with the whole society in the public TV.
Thanks, Hugo. Does that answer your question? Yes. Are there any other, Daniela?
Hello, Hugo. I don't know if you can hear me, like I'm quite far on the table, so I'm not sure if you can hear me well. But like if you want, I
I
can
can hear
move
you.
closer. If you want, if you prefer.
Yeah,
I can
thanks,
sit there.
Daniela. I'm never sure how much this thing can say.
Can you hear me better?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. I just had a question in relation to TOARs, and the consultation of victims. Especially if like, because I have seen, or I have like give kind of like a skim reading up to the first judgment in relation to the case of kidnappings. And as you said, there are like different mechanisms of like restorative justice, or like that it is established, as is the case of like environmental restoration. But one of the questions that I had at the moment of reading that is like, how was the level of consultation at the moment of drafting the restorative justice measures in those judgments? Especially considering like that kidnappings, I'm not sure, or I'm not certain if that will be effectively redress like the harm that the victims of kidnappings experience at the moment of like, like several years, some of them like being hostages in the jungle, like the psychological harms, the physical harms, also like some of them experience sexual harm. So I don't know if like, for example, environmental restoration will be kind of like an appropriate restorative mechanism for their harms. So like in general, my question is like the level of consultation and how effective those restorative measures have to redress the harm that they experience. I don't know if that makes sense, the question.
Yeah. Also, it's a really important. I think it's a clever question and a difficult question, because I was saying at the end that's like a challenge. I was concluding trying to say that that's like a big issue, as you were saying, in the press, and all the victims came after the sentence, disagreeing with the restorative sanctions. Um, I mean, I think in case 0301, which is kidnappings committed by FARC guerrillas, was quite different from the case 03. In case 03, in the false positive one, we had more like union about talking about the projects, and the community was involved. For example, in Dabeiba, I remember one of the project is coming. It's about reconstructing a bridge, and the community was really happy in the hearing and in the hearings, and also the victims and the perpetrators. As military, they know how to help, how to construct or rebuild the bridges that were destroyed in the war. But you're right. I mean, I agree with you. I think in case 01, former guerrilla FARC commanders, was quite different, because most of the victims were not happy with the restorative sanctions. They say that they were going to appeal the decision. So let's see what happened in the appeal chamber, and how they can like correct, if it's possible, this inconvenience. But yeah, I agree with you. This practice is not. We have to analyze more, and I was saying I have to update the paper because the judgments were recent held it, and I need to analyze. But I agree with you. I think that they don't have like the correct match with the victim's desires, and yeah, let's see what happened in the appeal.
Thank you, Hugo. We've one question from Sharon online. Sharon, would you like to unmute yourself and ask your question?
Yes, hi, thank you. Do you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
Yes, perfect. Okay, so my question, thank you for the presentation. I'm in Paris. My name is Sharon Veil. I'm a professor of international law, and I've been following the work of the HEP from far and from close, depend on the time. I wanted to ask you a little bit more, not on the question of the victim, but on the process of the investigation and the approach of the macro criminality, because I think this is also an interesting aspect that it's not anymore only about the so this is my question, actually. I understand that it is about individual criminal responsibility, but not only. So how the macro criminality enters here?
Hello, Professor Sharon. Thank you very much for joining us from France. Yeah, that's a really good question. As I was saying, yeah, the HEP investigations are about macro criminality. We're doing a different investigation model from the ordinary justice system because fundamentally we focus on the macro criminality. We're talking about thousands of and hundreds of killings or kidnappings, massive crimes against humanity and war crimes, and to investigate and to get the truth, we need like to address this investigation into patterns, into systematic patterns, and to reveal the structure, organization, and the policies behind the mass violations. So we're not investigating fact by fact or crime by crime. We're trying to associate different cases and facts into systematic patterns and policies behind to establish what is behind the mass violations. So instead of starting with a single incident and building a case from there, which is normally what happened, you have one case by one case, normally, one killing, and you investigate just that killing. Here we accumulate, we associate thousands of killings in the same case, number 3, for example. So we work from the bottom up and to the top down simultaneously, collecting thousands of testimonies, thousands of judicial decisions, military records, military documents, intelligence reports, like in order to map these patterns of violence, to identify the chains of command, because we want to get to the generals, to the highest commanders that were never investigated before in Colombia. And we want to expose to society the policies or the incentives that made those crimes possible. And at the end, we go to the most responsible. That's the aim of the HEP, just prosecute and pursue the most responsible of the war crimes and the crimes against humanity, the people who design, who order or enable the widespread crimes. So yeah, I don't know if you got it. Yeah.
Can I follow up on this, or maybe there is someone else that want to talk?
Yeah, I think we've got nearly 15 minutes, so yeah, ask your follow-up, Sharon. Sure.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, okay, so what I hear you, that for you, macro criminality is a little bit how we can, let's say, even manage thousands of harms that you identify, or or thousands of events, let's say, under the umbrella of one case. Maybe it's a little bit like what in Europe they call now structural cases in universal jurisdiction case, but I don't think it's the same at all. But okay, so what you're saying, you are regrouping all those acts, and then you try to go up to identify and prioritize the main responsibilities, individual responsibility. Because what I was thinking that macro criminality is not only about individual responsibility, but it's on the contrary, from a criminology point of view, trying to establish also responsibility of collectives. So are you looking at this, or it's more responsibility of individual at the end of the day?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Sharon. I will start with your last conclusion. We will go for individual responsibility. Our objective is to show society who was the most responsible, who were the most responsible individually behind these policies, behind these practices, behind this macro criminality. So yes, I think they are very similar to the international criminal law called structural investigations, because the goal is not to prosecute each event separately. The goal is to accumulate and to see the whole map, the whole picture, because all the crimes are similar. So, for example, in Dabeiba, I will take Dabeiba again. We have dozens of crimes, and all of the people that were killed were disappeared at the cemetery by the same practices. I mean, military, they were deceiving people and offering jobs to people in Medellin and bringing them to Dabeiba to kill them and to disappear them in the cemetery, you know. And this was not one case. Were dozens of crimes that repeat the same. So I think, at the end, we want to do the macro criminal investigation to identify the patterns, the policies behind the structure, which is behind these thousands of individual crimes. And then, we have a large volume of events, which make it really, really difficult. That's why I think JEP is taking long processes to finish with the sentence, because you are examining thousands of victims of facts, and at the end, we need to accuse, we need to prosecute the most responsible of the crimes. So at the end, we need a individual responsibility, and we took into account the Rome Statute, because we indict by the Rome Statute crimes against humanity and war crimes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, I accidentally launched the slides again. We have a question in the room here from Laura, and then Alice, I'll come to you online. Laura, would you like to go ahead?
Yeah, thank you. Hi, Hugo. Thank you very much for telling us about your experience at JEP. I would like to ask you if maybe you can tell us about your experience regarding to documenting harms or damages caused to victims in the case 003, especially in your experience in the Dabeiba case.
Thank you very much for your question. The harms are really important, because we want to connect the harm with the restorative sentence. I mean, that's, I think, the main idea, or the perfect idea. When you, after the macro investigation and talking with the victim, you know the harms, which harms they had. For example, in Dabeiba, they were talking a lot about the misunderstanding of the name. I mean, like, the sons and the victims, they were presented as FARC guerrillas, and they were not FARC guerrillas. They were civilians. They were peasants, farmers. So people was like victims and mothers and families. They wanted to give back the name, have a good name of the son disappeared, and to recover that good name, they need the militaries to explain that they didn't kill a FARC guerrilla member. They wanted to be restored by the community and by the society, and to let everybody know that their victim was not a guerrilla member. So, for example, that was I think was a big harm that we found by the hearings, and at the end, I think that has to be connected with the restorative sanction. That's what we were talking with your colleague next to you. That didn't happen apparently in case number one, because in case number one, victims wanted different reparation, more connected with harm, and they were saying in the TV and the media that yeah, what is the relation between environmental actions with kidnappings, for example, you know. But I think that's really important. That's essential in the process. You need to connect the reparation, the restoration, the sentence, the final restorative sentence with the harm.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you, Laura, and thank you, Hugo. Alice, would you like to ask your question? Oh, you're muted. Okay, perfect.
Thank you. Hi, nice to meet you, Hugo. Really interesting presentation. My question pertains to one of the other aspects which I think merit further discussion, which is the extent to which the HEP facilitates and furthers the right to truth, not just for individuals, but also for society, right? And I think this in part mirrors the conversation you were having with our colleague in Paris a moment ago about individual criminal responsibility, which is really important for all the formal reasons of international criminal law as well as domestic criminal law. But what about the socio-legal components that we need to take into account when we're using mechanisms such as this very innovative mechanism in relation to delivering the truth, not just to individual victims and their families, but also to society at large?
Thank you, Alice. Yeah, I think HEP is designed precisely to operate the right to truth, which is a novel right, not only as an individual right of the victims and their families, also like a collective right of the society, like to understand the causes, the patterns, the policies, and the consequences of the armed conflict. Because if we want the peace and we want non-repetition, we need to, as you were saying, go further, not only stay with the right to truth individually, try to spread the impact of the investigation. I think at the individual level, victims gain access to truth. They can ask. That was denied for decades. The system, the judicial system, normally is rude and is not victim center as the HEP one. So I think in the individual level, we have this face-to-face truth moment, and at the societal level, as I was saying, I think the HEP goes beyond isolated events to show a macro investigation, as I was talking with your colleague in Paris, and expose these systematic dynamics, in order to try to to have to never repeat the conflict again, and to everybody understand what happened, causes, consequences, policies, organization, actions, etc. So I think, yeah, and the truth at the end is conditional in the HEP. If you say the truth, you stay in the system, and but if you are false in the truth, or saying lies, and we verify that, you go out of the system, and you have to go to the ordinary system. I don't know if I get the question behind it.
Thank you. Yes.
Thanks, Alice. Thanks, Hugo. We have one more question from Natalia, so we'll take that as our last question because we're close to 4. So Natalia, would you like to ask your question, please? Oh, we can't hear you. I don't think you're muted.
Can you hear me there?
We can hear you now. Perfect. Thank you.
Well, I'm from Colombia. I will make my question in English, of course, for the general understanding. But my question, I think, follow-ups a little bit the ones that Sharon made. And I think it's how does the HEP, like how long is the process, and how does the HEP make the decisions to choose like the general, like the individual person that's made responsible for the crime. So, for example, Sharon was talking about like the false positives, and I know that you, for example, if the military is the one that makes the decision, you choose, for example, the general or the policeman that gave the order. But how is the process to determine that? Yes, for example, the one who gave the order, the one on the main chain, the number one, is the most responsible one. But what happens to the other people that were involved in the process that are lower on the chain, that follow up orders, but are still responsible? What happens to that kind of people in the process of giving the victims the truth and giving them dignity?
Hello, Natalia. Gracias. Thank you for the question. Really important question. And I think I can like take the jurisprudence of the appeal section, because of course in the chamber, which is like before in the acknowledged chamber, they ask the same question you are saying, like how to select, how to choose who is the most responsible. And this jurisprudence is saying that you need to know the essentials of the crime, the essential, who was essentially important in the crime scene, not only because of his command rank. I mean, we don't need to look only if he was a colonel, general, a high commander. The main point is to try to analyze the whole pattern, macro criminal pattern, and to conclude who is behind, who is essential in that criminal pattern, who you cannot get rid of the chain, who has to be in the chain. For example, in Dabeiba, not only the one who killed, they were also the most responsible military that were trying to get the victims and to go to Medellin and towns around Dabeiba and convince the victims to kill them. So you have to like look the whole plan, and then like be more like a criminal investigator, judge, trying to define who is essential. And as I was saying, it's not important the rank, because also could be about the activities the criminal did in the pattern. So yeah, I think it's a really difficult scenario, because, for example, in Dabeiba, I think there were like up to 30 military personnel involved, and we indict 10 most responsible. The other 20, so the 10 will go to the judgment. They have the possibility to acknowledge truth or not. So they can go to the restorative or the adversarial system. And the other 20, taking this example, they will go to a different chamber, and they wouldn't have responsibility, because the peace process is about just focusing on the most responsible.
Thank you.
Natalie.
Thank you, Natalia, and thank you, Hugo, for answering all of those questions. We'll bring this seminar to a close because we're at 4 o'clock. Hugo, thank you so much for your time and for giving us such a fascinating presentation. I think everyone here really enjoyed it, and as did everyone online, and I think it's given us lots to think about. So I want to thank everyone in the room and everyone online for coming. And just to note, there's another event happening next week on the 22nd of October, organised by our colleague Daniela Suarez Vargas, on gender-based violence within armed groups in Colombia. So if anyone would like to attend, it's a hybrid event. If you go to the QUB School of Law webpage, you'll find that under events if you want to sign up. So thank you all again for your time, and thank you so much, Hugo.
Thank you very much, Lauren. It was a pleasure
Thank
to be
you.
here and an honor. Bye-bye.
Lovely to have you. Bye-bye.